You know that sometimes they say that new technologies are like solutions looking for a problem. So the organization came and asked the guy that is in charge of everything on citizen participation and voting in Catalonia, which is me, to come with some problems so that you can solve them. I have lots of them, so it won't be difficult for me just to explain some of the different problems that we have, and that, as we've been seeing in some places in the world, we can see that blockchain may have a say in trying to fix these problems. So let's say that we have a citizen that approaches the government or approaches an issue or a problem, and who is he? We don't know who he is, what is his profile, what does he know, what does he do, what does he want, what does he need. So a first problem that we have is who are citizens, who are people, what is their identity. Let's say that if we know who they are, what are their interests? I mean, can they act in some places? Can we, instead of approaching them on a geographical basis, which is what we usually do, we have a city council, we gather around all the people around that city council, or we have an organization like a neighborhood association, and we usually, or we used to address citizens depending on their geographical status. Depending on where they were, we approach them. But maybe there are some people with interest around Catalonia or around the world that can help in putting some solutions or in participating in some debates, making proposals, voting. Why don't we approach them according to their interests? Well, sometimes it's because we don't know what they do. We don't know what their interests are. Sometimes they are registered in lobbyist registries, or they are associated or affiliated in a labor union, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they are in platforms that don't even exist. So how do we, besides knowing who they are, what is what moves them? What is what it's their interest? What do they know? After that, sometimes these guys come just on their own and they say, I have a say, I want to say something, it's me talking to you. But sometimes they say, or they want us to believe that they're representing someone. It's an individual, it's a collective. And that collective, is it big or is it small? Is it representative or not? If we have more or less 1 million people with diabetes, if one guy comes and says that he represents an association with 900,000 affiliated, we know that he does represent them, but sometimes we do not know if these guys represent something or someone or an interest of a lot of people or few people. How can we know how many people are endorsing this guy? And after that, well, these guys that usually we identify them or not, we know who they are or not, we know their interests or not, we know they represent someone or not, or they're affiliated. We do not know what have they been doing in the past. As I said, we sometimes do have lobbyist registries, which roughly say what one guy has been doing with the administration, but sometimes we don't know at all, because they've been knocking at the door of different levels of the administration, local administration, regional administration, national administration, state administration. They go to Brussels also, and they're really knocking on many, many, many doors, sometimes even private doors. They get money from private donors. And we actually do not know what these kind of people are bringing on the table. Again, it's themselves, it's in representing someone. Is there a long track of things that they've been doing or not? Is this long track relevant or is this irrelevant? I mean, sometimes knowing what this track has been, of these guys having relationships with others, means that just don't knock on the door again with the very same thing that you've been asking for the last 10 years. But sometimes it really is a pace that we want to know to be able to address that this thing has been getting worse and worse and worse, or is a need that is more and more and more important. So knowing this track, what is the relationship between guys, between people, between citizens, and with administration or with private powers, it might be interesting to know that. Well, we do not know, or we roughly do not know at all. Besides knowing people, besides knocking at doors, these guys have been actually doing things. They've been submitting proposals, they've been voting proposals, sometimes on their own, sometimes on a citizen initiative, sometimes because the government made the participation process and they've been really participating, but sometimes we can write down their names, sometimes we don't. Sometimes they act on different nicknames, sometimes because they have security concerns or privacy concerns, sometimes because they think that their name is not important and they want to be anonymized. But the thing is, do we know what people are saying, how people are participating in these several places? What are the transactions that they've been doing with public administrations, private bodies, for profit or for non-profit? Can we track down the several times that, I don't know, a bikers club has been asking for a bike lane? And how did the administration answer to them? We were positive? Were not we positive? Did they try elsewhere? Even more, can we add up the different successes of these guys? They asked for a bike lane, it was built. They asked for an elongation of this bike lane, it was built. Can we track all the different ways that they have participated, all the transactions that they have been having with the administration, so that we can make sense of the whole thing? Well, we don't. We cannot, at least not easily, be able to know what people have been doing or saying directly, and even less indirectly. Everything that happens from the top down, we can more or less trace. Everything that happens from the bottom up, in unofficial spaces, in non-representative spaces, in non-formal spaces, by non-formal people, meaning not institutions, not people representing anyone, we really cannot know what is going on, and all the effort that these guys put on participating, on engaging. So this is a big thing for us, trying to track what is going on with our citizens. Even more than that, this is a little bit different from being representing someone or not. It's, do I give you, even if it's temporary, power so that you represent me? Or can you say that you have your own vote and my vote? You can call it liquid democracy, you can call it hybrid democracy, you can call it whatever you want. But the idea is, besides formal affiliation, is there a way that I can be endorsed, or I can represent people, or that I can delegate my vote or my voice to other guys? Not easily. Not easily, again, outside of formal representation and outside of institutions, which is where most things happen. Most things happen outside of institutions. We are not able to track them. Everyone is flying under our radar, but things do happen there. Is there a way that I can delegate my vote, my voice, my say, my needs? And is there a way that anyone can be endorsed and not represent, but act on my own or on my behalf? More than that, as I said before, we are used, by we I mean the administration, is used to be the center of the world. If people do not come, they do not exist. If people do not talk to me by formal channels, they do not exist. And of course, if they talk to other guys of the administration, and I'm saying levels, but it happens also and in parallel in other departments of the administration, if they don't speak directly to me, they do not exist. But it would make sense if I am from the same government or the same administration, even if I come from another department, to know that this guy has been running on, or knocking on different places and asking similar things but different things on different places. For instance, the bikers, they can ask for a smart city or a smart lane to the guy from IT, but can ask for participation in citizens department and can ask for health insurances in health department, and it's the same guy. How can I trace, but not on interest, not on individuals, but on big topics? And how can I add the different needs or the different efforts that different kinds of administrations are doing? Can we add up proposals in different places? If one guy is debating, if one city council is debating on bike lanes, can another city council copy or be inspired by what is going on there, and like sort of surrogate the debate, take it in their own city council, and not begin from scratch, but begin from where the other city council left it, and just add upon and build on the giant's shoulders. Can we do that? Oh, we cannot, or it's very difficult. I was saying about representation and delegation, but this is linear or is not linear, meaning if I come and have a say, can I say that I have been endorsed and vote by those many people, or my vote will count just one? If I represent an organization, will my vote or my voice be weighted by at least a certain degree of the guys that I'm representing? If I represent 1,000 people and you're coming on your own, does my vote count 1,000 more times than your vote? Or is it the same one? Now it's very difficult to do that. Actually, we don't do that. One person, one vote, and that is all. Sometimes in negotiating tables, we can negotiate. And we know that there are some representatives like labor unions, etc., that they have a special weight. But again, this is at the formal level. At the informal level, are we able to weight decision-making processes, to weight the different proposals, to weight different votes? Well, it's difficult for now, and it might be interesting to know that there's a chance or there's a way to do that, because sometimes it would be very handy. For instance, it's not the same thing that a bikes association, again with the same example, can vote more than a cars association on bike lanes, for instance. Let's imagine that all these things have been solved, and finally I want to know where my vote went. I have been participating on things about, again, biking. How do I know that my voice, A, was heard, was actually listened to, which is the different thing, and somebody made a decision based on my voice, which does not mean that necessarily it has to be my position, but at least to know that they heard, they listened, they considered it, and they make a decision which might be positive to me or negative to me, but I want to know if I had some impact, even a little dent, on these guys making decisions. How can I trace what I did? Yes, of course, if I wanted a new swimming pool in my neighborhood and I have it, I can think that I was heard, but sometimes it's not that easy. Let's imagine what I think about the policy on immigration in Europe and letting people drowning on the sea. Do I know that the guys in Brussels are listening to me and they're... So being able to check and to revisit, and revisit it is not only checking, means tracing all the decision process. Can I do that? Can I know not only the whole thing, but where my position made a dent or was incorporated or was embedded in the decision process? I don't think we can do that easily. And again, not only my thing, as I said, can we aggregate decision-making in different levels, in different places? Well, if we can aggregate, I should be able not only to trace my process of participation, but how it doesn't make sense in the whole thing. How different, apparently, independent processes or independent policy issues are aggregated, and where my proposal, where my voting, where my participation made any sense. How do I find myself as a citizen within the whole process of decision making? And last, how do we check for accountability? It's not only how I made a dent myself or representing someone or endorsed by someone, aggregate or disaggregate, weighted or not weighted, identified by issues geographically, etc., by my identity, etc., 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 etc. But also know how the work of the government and the work of the citizenship matches together, and who spent the money, what resources were applied to this process, etc. So that's my question to you. They asked me, just come with some problems that these guys can use for inspiration. These are the problems, the real ones that I have every day in my office. So, well, if you come with some solutions, just come talk to me, please. Thank you.